Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the Campervan Campout Hub. I'm Matt from the Motorhome Matt podcast, and it's great to have you all here with us. Thank you for coming along. I'm delighted to introduce this next session, which I've nicknamed Cats, Dogs and No Kids. It's not called that at all. It's actually about solo female travel, but these three certainly do feature. Well, there are some kids in the equation, I suppose, but they're not here today, are they? It's a kid-free zone, this one. We've had quite a few sessions with lots of families in, and it's been great, but noisy. So we've got the lovely Tash from Life Beyond Bricks who's going to host this session. And this is a workshop, so we're really keen that we get everyone engaged in the conversation. So if you've got questions, we're going to have questions throughout the session. Is that right? I'm going to help run around with a microphone so they can hear you and we can all hear your question. But we're going to stage this as a bit of a workshop, which Tash is going to host. And I can tell you a little secret about each of them. So we've got Tash, who is married to John. And did you know, Tash used to work in a Staples, and John would drive miles out of his way to buy random stationery just to chat to Tash. And when they moved in together, she opened a cupboard, and there was all this stationery. He's like, what is all this? It's random staplers, boxes of paper. And he'd drive past another stationery shop just to go to Staples, just to get a chance to ring Tash's till. Bless him. And Sharon, this is Sharon in the Van Love sweater. Sharon used to run a fish and chip shop, bought your first fish and chip shop at 23. Is that right? And used to famously batter stuff, is what is best described as. I'm not sure what stuff was. Mice? Mars bars. Mars bars, okay. But you're not Glaswegian? No, okay. But it's great to have you with us. Thank you very much for coming. And this is Mandy, and unadventurous Mandy, who many of you will know, I'm sure, and was once tripped over by either Ant or Deck. She's not sure which, but they both picked her up off the floor. So can I have a very warm welcome, please, to Tash, Mandy and Sharon. Over to you.
Wow, thank you. That was a hell of an introduction, wasn't it? Right, thank you all so much, first of all, for coming out and sharing a bit of your Sunday with us. Because for those of you that have been here all weekend, I didn't know if everyone went a bit too hard at Chris Moyles last night. So thank you so much for joining us. As Matt's obviously said, we want it to be a really nice, relaxed, informal, interactive session. So what we'll do is, he's given us a bit of an introduction, but I'll introduce myself, and then we'll let these lovely ladies introduce themselves, and then it's basically over to you guys. No question is a stupid question, because there's no such thing. You can ask us anything to do with travel, solo travel, motorhomes, campervans. The only thing we ask is that you keep it on topic, but no question is a silly question. So just to start out, as Matt said, obviously my name's Tash, one half of Life Beyond Bricks. Sold my house 5 years ago to move into a motorhome and go travelling with my husband and 3 cats. But I now have my own solo camper, which actually is in the corner, oddly enough. It's not random. John used it as a prop the other day. It's not just parked here. So I do go off and do solo adventures now. And I'll pass over to the lovely Mandy to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Mandy. I am half of, John and Mandy. I'd let you guess which half. And I also have my own channel, Unadventurous Mandy. And we sold our house in 2019. We've done loads of travels together, and now we have separate vans, and Sorry, I am a little nervous. And we travel separately and together, but in separate vans.
Perfect. And what about yourself, Sharon?
Hiya, I'm Sharon, and I'm Life on the Road. I've been on the road now 3 years, so I rented my house and my business to fund my travels with my trusty sidekick, Vilk. Actually, that's not my dog. That's a stray in Morocco. That I couldn't get rid of, but they played together immensely. So, yeah, that's me.
Brilliant. So, it's over to you guys now. So, anyone want to kick it off with a question? Anyone? Very quiet. No hands up. Yes, there's one down here.
What were some of the things that really you were shocked about when you moved into a van, good or bad?
That I was shocked about? I don't know. What would I have been shocked or surprised about when I moved into a van? I think you definitely have to, don't want to kick it off on a, lowering the tone. You definitely have to get used to your bathroom being in your living space. See, they agree. And certainly with a partner, you have to be very comfortable with each other. So I wouldn't say it was a shock, but it was a bit of a like, oh, okay. An adjustment, shall we say? Yes, definitely. But other than that, I can't think of anything else really. I think we were so excited to do it, and we knew it was what we wanted to do, that we just kind of rolled with it. So whatever challenges came up, I can't really think of any. Can you guys think of anything you were shocked about or surprised you in a good or bad way when you first moved into a van? Do you want to go first?
I mean, for me, it was how much water you use, because you don't get to monitor that when you're in a house. And then suddenly, the motorhome, what do we have in that? Like 140 litres, and all of a sudden it's gone, and I'm like, what am I doing with this water? It's just like, use the shower, switch it on and off as you're using it, but I don't think you kind of understand in a house just how much water you go through in a day until you've got a finite resource of it. So, yeah.
Is there anything that shocked or surprised you?
How many packing cubes that I filled, and how many pairs of shoes I had, and how many hoodies, and what you really have to get rid of and downsize. But I'm happy with everything that I've got in the van now, and I don't need anything more.
Perfect. Thank you.
I lie.
I want to ask, I'd like to be able to go out in our van on my own, because I'm lucky enough that I don't have to work full time, but Adam does. And but I'm a bit scared to go out on my own. What would you say would be a good sort of starting? Would you go to a campsite, or because we do park on the road, and then I find I don't sleep so well when we do. But when we come to things like this, I feel so safe that I just sleep really well. So, what would you say going forward would be a good sort of starting point?
No, that's a really great question. So what would you say would be a good starting point for someone looking to go out on their own for the first time?
Just do it. I've been to Albania, Morocco, Italy, through Europe, all that kind of thing. And I did have apprehensions at first. But now I think it's your own mind that plays tricks on you. I would start off maybe going to a campsite, and then getting to know the van and just chilling. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And I go on campsites regular. And once you know the van, then you can branch out a little bit further. But a bit of advice at night time, just make sure that you've got a little bit to do in the van, your telly's on, because during the day you look out, it's beautiful. And then you go in the van, it's just the same. But then your mind starts playing little tricks, and you say, what's that noise? And it's nothing, it isn't.
Yeah, that's a really good tip actually about having a few things to do. So what I do is make sure I've got something downloaded on my iPad, like a Netflix series or a comfort series, and I have it on as like company. Because certainly when I first started going out on my own, I thought I knew everything about, wild camping and stuff, and I had to start from scratch, and I was sort of like, oh, this is really nerve-wracking. So for me,
Game of Thrones.
Sorry?
Game of Thrones.
Friends, definitely.
Friends. Definitely. Yeah.
So that's exactly how I did start. Is I started going to pub stops because then it was the off-grid experience that I was used to, but in somewhere that I knew I was okay to park, and it was quite nice going in the pub in the evening, a little bit of company, but not necessarily someone and that kind of eased me into doing that. And again, I would agree, campsites. What would you say? Would you agree with that, or do you think anything different?
Absolutely, I think it is the same. It's having things to do when you're in the van, but I found a big change as well with being in the van with John. Like you say, I thought I was an expert, and I'm like, I've done this for years, this is going to be brilliant. And then the first night, I'm like, I don't know what have I done. But it was, like I say, it's all in your head. But then what I did do is I started going around and visiting friends and staying nearby friends. So you kind of got the wild camping, but you're visiting people during the day, and you've still got that safety net of them being there, but you're still getting to travel around as you're doing it too. So it's just finding what works for you, really. Your mind will play all sorts of tricks on you, and it will tell you that there are things. I've got CCTV on the outside of my camera, so I still get spooked, but now I can look and check and see if it's anything, it's nice having that little window to the outside without having to open a window to the outside. But yeah, there's just many things you can do. Keep yourself occupied, stay where friends are, and give yourself a break for feeling nervous about it, because it's a big deal.
That's a really good tip, actually, about going and visiting friends. Yeah, I like that one. I might throw that one into my repertoire as well. That's good. Thank you.
Stealing.
I've learnt stealing. Thank you. Uh-oh.
There's trouble now.
Hi guys. Obviously I know Tash, it's nice to meet you two too. When you've been on the road, because I'm assuming you've all got some form of solar power panels to actually help you charge, has there ever been a moment when the weather's been not nice to you, you've thought, oh, what am I going to do? I don't want to drive further, I'm nearly down on my fuel, there's no station in sight. What would you then do?
Ooh.
If you've ever come across that?
So if you were down on resources, basically, any of you had that? Either of you had that situation?
As I know with solar's a big old thing, and then you only appreciate it when you appreciate it more when you don't have it. So as soon as winter hits, and you've got to be very careful with what you're using. I have a power bank and a battery in my van, so I split the two. So the battery in my van runs all the necessities like my fridge and my water pump and my diesel heater, and my power bank runs my coffee machine mostly. That's just, I think I did say I could get like 1,000 cups of coffee without needing to recharge it again. So that was fine by me, but it means that I can use that as much as I need to without worrying about the basics still working. So that makes me feel a little bit better about it as well. But it's I've got a folding solar panel. The more solar you can get out, even on the overcast, dreary days, you'll still get something. I was in Scotland in winter, it was snowing everywhere, and I was still getting 250 watts off a folding solar panel. So it really does give you more than you think, but it's just a case of being careful with what you use and keeping that down to a minimum.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Any other questions? Yes.
Hi. Hello. We're thinking that I might have to change the van to a small one, because we've got a 7.5 metre van now. Is 7.5 metres good enough for doing solo van life, or should I be thinking of something more in the size of a T6 if I'm not taking the animals? Because normally we take the parrot and 2 dogs. But if I'm going on my own, it would be on my own, and possibly that might be sensible to downsize. What do you think?
Personally, for me, I would say, obviously it's whatever you're comfortable with, but did you say you're not taking the animals with you? So it would literally be just you on your own. Personally, I would say you could downsize. I think then, certainly for me, excuse me, it takes away that worry of, am I going to fit somewhere if you fancy going somewhere? Because it might mean that there's more options for you to fit places. And if you were looking at something like a T6 size, for example, then obviously you'd probably have a pop top instead, which would take away any height barrier anxiety as well. That's what I find with my little camper. I mean, what would you guys say? Because you both have, is it 6 metres or 5 metres?
I tend to like to spend a lot of time in the mountains, wherever I go, which country. And I must admit, I do find mine's a 6 metre. And I think that's about my limit. I don't think I would go any bigger than that. Just because it's a lot easier to get to places and, you know, not stealth park, but park in car parks and things like that, easy to reverse and, you know. But don't get us wrong, I wouldn't turn down a 7 metre if somebody said, do you want a 7 metre van? I'll take it. Yeah, with the shower in. So, yeah, I would, it's how confident you feel. If you want to start off slowly and drive the 7 metre and see how you go and just take it out for a day and think, and then, you know, give it maybe just a couple of weeks. Have you got the 7 metre now? 7.4, yeah, just try it. Just go out and see how you think and go, you know, and then, yeah.
but I did use sites. Sorry. Yeah, I did use the camping club sites.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, definitely try it. But I think
But
because
I want to do proper solo van life.
you can do it. I know
You can do it. Anybody can do it. There's a lot of
I
groups.
love driving our van. I have no problem with it. I love driving it and parking it even. But probably we got it for the dogs and parrot. Yeah. And for us to do full-time van life. So it's not what our circumstances say now. So I've got to think about solo van life. I shall do that.
And a fresh start might be quite nice, mightn't it? Because you've got a completely
You're
different
right.
purpose for it now. So I think about that.
Yeah, you're right. Thank you, Tash. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Don't be shy. Any questions? Very quiet. Oh, there's one. Oh, he's on it.
Hello, everyone. Question I've got for all three of you is, what is top of your list for a place you've not been that you'd love to go to on your own?
Although I've been to like Albania, Montenegro and all that kind of things, my next place is Norway and Sweden and Finland. I'm a fine weather, I like the sun. So I've left it till this time to think after, say, maybe at the end of May, maybe setting off then, and then at least the weather's got a little bit better.
What about you, Mandy?
I would love to go island hopping on the Canaries. I'd love to go and do all of that. I would literally just be sat in tapas bars all day, but I'd find some really nice park-ups in the hills. And the bits I've done on the north coast of Spain, give me a real taste for beautiful park-ups in the hills, nice big hike down, glass of sangria and some tapas, right back up again. I'd just live like that. That would just be me. And I would quite happily do it. But the Canaries look beautiful, and I'd love to go in and just do all the ferries and island hopping. How brave am I saying I go on ferries? You know? But yeah, that would be my thing.
So big and brave. Yay. I'm going to be a bit boring here. I actually don't have an answer off the top of my head for that one. Jumped ahead. I don't have an answer for that one, actually, because I've been so many places with John, and I don't know if I'd like to go back to some of those places on my own and experience it differently. I'd love to go and get lost in Germany, because what we've seen of that I absolutely loved, and obviously it's so much bigger than you actually realise, or certainly for me, because I'm not very good at geography. So I think I'd love to go and maybe revisit some places and experience them on my own. So yeah, Germany, Slovenia, places like that. But I don't have any... I want to go everywhere and do it all, so I don't have just one place.
Have all the rubble loving without having to drag someone else with you.
Could you all the rubble? Oh, yeah, definitely.
That's brilliant. Thanks, guys.
No, thank you. Thank you.
We got a question at the back.
Uh-oh.
We can get an uh-oh in for that one, can't we?
Thank you. Asking for a friend.
For a friend.
If you know, you know. I have only stayed on my own in a pub stop. That's about as remote as I've dared to go, because I am a little bit scared about security. Have you had any scary incidents, and how did you cope?
Oh, so yeah, have we had any scary incidences when you've been out and about on your own? Do you want to go first, Sharon? Have you thought of any?
Bearing in mind I've been on the road 3 years, I must admit I haven't, but I have had one little scary thing that is not, human related. I was in the mountains in Italy, and I was speaking to a tour guide just as I headed off into the mountains, and I said, is there anything that I need to be aware of? And he said, bears. And I went, okay, bears. He said, yes, they're all over. I said, okay then. I said, is there any signs that I know that are about? And he said, poo. And I was like, okay. He said, if there's poo on the floor and it looks warm and it looks soft, he said, put your finger in it. And I was like, he must be joking. He must be joking. Bearing in mind, I've seen loads of advertisements, bears, here, there and everywhere. So anyway, I found this beautiful park up, got Poppy out. That was my dog before. Well, still is my dog. Got Poppy out, deck chair out, and I thought, oh my goodness, this is amazing. And as I turned, I seen on the ground. And I was like, what's that? So I went over to Leighton. Oh my goodness, it was bear poo. You have never seen anybody throw deck chairs and cloths and everything back in the van, and the dog jumped in the van. I was literally like that, thinking, where's the bears? And so I only drove a little way down the road, but I was in a lay-by, so there was a road, and then there was me, and then there was a big dip, so I thought, there's no bears going to get us here. But it did cross my mind. I was thinking, they can open doors, apparently, and, they can do quite a lot of damage, apparently, but hey-ho, I'm still here, and my dog's still here, and, yeah, that's the only, not scariest, do you know what I mean? Because, obviously, saying that, I've got, like, a bungee cord that I strap from one door to the other, and I ratchet strappy, and that's the only ever time that I've done it, because I didn't want no bears eating all my food out my cupboards. Never mind me, do you know what I mean? It's just I won't give my snacks up here for no bear, so yeah.
But the big question is, did you stick your finger in the poo?
I did a little bit, and it wasn't warm, so I knew they weren't about, but I wasn't going to plan on staying there. I just moved further on, but I must admit it was worth every second of my legs being like jelly and throwing everything back in the van to experience that place.
That's great. What about you, Mandy? Any scary experiences, human or otherwise?
I've got to try and beat a bear story now. I should have gone first.
How'd you compete with that?
It was my first trip out in Bumble, after I just got Bumble. And I'd gone down the Wirral, and I'd seen some places, and someone said that there was a real good park up on Wigg Island. So I'm like, right, I'll go there. You've got, I think it's the Manchester Canal on one side and the Mersey on the other. It's like really nice, loads of walking. So it's like, right, I'll go park up there. And a couple of boy racers came in the night, had some KFC, so I was awake at like 3 a.m. thinking, okay. And they left a load of rubbish, so I was like looking out, and I thought, okay, they've gone, it's fine. Survived my first boy racer incident, that was no problem at all. And then as I was getting to sleep, I felt the van move a little bit, and I'm like, oh, it's probably just me, I've probably shifted and not felt it. So the next morning, I got my litter picker out, went to clear up after these lads, and on the sliding window on the side of my van was 2 like handprints, as if someone had actually tried the van window to push it open. And I'm like, okay. So I phoned John, and I'm just like, oh, I don't. And he goes, it's totally up to you. But I figured they didn't get in, so I stayed 2 more days. So it's like, well, it's okay, 22-year-old rusty windows for the win, I think, for that one. But
they were rusted shut, so
yes.
they couldn't open.
Yeah.
No, that's brilliant.
What about you?
To be honest, I don't think I've ever had an experience, actually, so far. Maybe just because I've been a wuss and
touch wood.
Yeah, touch wood. And I always trust my gut, and maybe I'm a bit oversensitive with that. So I'll always have my backup park ups, and if I get somewhere and I'm not feeling it, I do move. So I have to say, thankfully, even though I've done all kinds of park ups, touch wood, I've not actually had any experiences like that.
Definitely go with your gut feeling. When you pull up somewhere and you get, you have that feeling, you look around. I always check it out, see how much rubbish is lying about. Then you can tell, like Mandy, like boy races have been there. And, just go with your gut. Very rarely, I don't think I can count on one hand the amount of times I've had to move. But, there is situations where I've pulled up and I've thought, I don't really like this. And travelling by myself as well, I always make sure that I get to a park up before dark, or I'll pick a park up and I'll check it out, and then I'll go somewhere else and have a day, and then I'll go back to that park up at night, sleep overnight, and then off the next morning. If it's a nice place to park, I'll park for 2 nights. I very rarely stop any more than 2 nights in a place. I'm always respectable. I always take into consideration, where it's at. And I do go on campsites quite a bit, just for fueling up and water, my waste, all that kind of thing. But definitely go with your gut feeling.
Definitely. So I actually have a question that I'd love to ask you guys off the back of that. That was a really nice, smooth segue. Thank you very much. So what are your top tips for feeling safe when you are doing park-ups? So for example, one of mine is that I don't actually like to lock myself in too much because I think it's not so much necessarily about people getting into the van, it's about if I need to get out of it really quickly as well. So I know that some people do things like put seat belts around the doors and really lock themselves in, but personally for me, I feel more comfortable, making sure that my van's in a ready-to-go state, so that if I had to leave quickly or I had to get out, I can. What are your guys' top tips for feeling safe when you're doing park-ups? Have you got any, Mandy?
A lot of mine's the same as yours. I don't spin the driver's chair if it is just me. And especially if it's like just a quick overnight stop. If I'm there for a long time, I'll turn the chair sideways. So I know even if somebody could get in the door, then having the chair sideways would stop it. And it's really quick to whip it back round again. I have got all the things, the bungees and all of that, but I don't even put my steering lock on if I'm staying in the van by myself overnight. Obviously I have it handy because it's a very heavy object that I'm allowed to have in the vehicle just in case I needed anything. Yes. I mean, I could get their ankles. I'm only short. I could do something with it. So I tend to not do that and keep myself ready to go as much as possible. I don't unpack anything and just stay pretty much ready. But if I'm there for a long period of time, I'm like, if it's not a campsite, then I don't put all my things out on the side.
Yep.
And no steps outside or anything. I just fall in and out of the van instead.
Safe. What about yourself, Sharon? Have you got any top tips for feeling safe when you're doing park-ups?
Buy a Malinois. He's absolutely amazing. I've only had him 12 months. He's absolutely gorgeous. Well, I won't start talking about him because, just don't get too much things out. Make sure you put everything away at night, which I don't do. Mandy will tell you, my van is just wrecked all the time. And just make sure that you can drive off. Always park your van facing outwards wherever you go, and then at least if you do have to move through night, you know where the exit of the wherever you've parked. That's what religiously I always, and you'll see me in a big grey van and I'm moving like that. I make sure that I park exactly where I want to park, and I don't care whether it takes us 10 or 20 minutes to park up, but face outwards. And other than that, I think everything else is being covered. Yeah.
And no external screens.
Oh yes, no external screens, definitely.
As much as it's nice to keep all the light out, you don't have to get out of your van to go and unwrap it to be able to go anywhere. And like you said before with the backups as well, it's always knowing that most pubs will let you stay, and Asda. If you go in and see Asda at customer services, I know it's not the best thing, but if you're worried, you can go somewhere that's populated, that there's loads of people knocking around, and you're allowed to stay overnight. And they've got a really good bakery for first thing in the morning, so there's always a bonus for that. But just knowing you've got that backup kind of makes it less scary, doesn't it?
I think another thing as well, if it does look like your van's got somebody in it, they don't know who's in it. They don't know if there's a big guy, do you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I don't go 100% stealth. I make people aware that I am in it, and that, they're less likely to break in because they don't know who's in the van. That's why I always go back to the parking place later on and park, and, I don't get my deck chairs out and everything like that, but I think it's not too bad, people knowing that you're actually in the van.
I mean, I must admit that I've gone out of my van before now and I've gone, see you later, and shut the door, even though there's nobody in there. It's just like making sure that people think I'm not on my own and I'm not leaving
And I leave the
van
radio on sometimes, yeah.
That's brilliant. No, thank you for that. Is there any other questions from the audience? Uh-oh.
Yeah, definitely. Uh-oh.
Hang on, John, here you go.
Oh, thank
Hang on,
you.
John.
It's a positive one because you've been talking about some sort of worrying parts about being solo female van life. What about your sort of experiences on the road meeting other solo female van lives, and also have you been to meetups that are specifically for solo female van life, and what are your experiences of those?
Experiences meeting other solo female van lifers. To be honest, I haven't actually been to any solo female meets yet. I'm going to go to my first one in June, actually, that's run by a friend of mine. She's at the wheel. But yeah, and I don't think I've met any other, apart from obviously these guys who I already knew, I don't think I've actually met any other solo female travellers on the road. Have you ever met any on the road?
Yeah, quite a few follow me. There's one of my friends, Anne-Marie, she's actually in Spain now, living the life of a solo female van lifer, and I'm so proud of her. I give her a lot of tips before she went, a lot of things to do and not to do, and she's having the time of her life. But you said about the groups, where when you are travelling, and this is no joke, you meet so many like-minded people. I mean, you tend to be all looking for the same kind of park-up, so you're guaranteed never to be alone on the road. I love going abroad to Europe and all them kinds of things, because I've met so many amazing people and so many like female van lifers and male and solo male van lifers. Yeah.
I think the difference is you've got loads of comments. You've got such a bubbly personality. You go talk to anybody, and I'm just like hiding in the corner. It's just like, oh no. I mean, one of the things, I was down in Cornwall on my own. And I'd posted a couple of pictures from St Michael's Mount, and it was lovely. And one of my subscribers who was working around the corner, she goes, oh, do you fancy a brew? So she came, we sat in the van watching the surfers and things, and then the day after that, she bought a van. And now I get to see all the things that she does in the van and where she travels around. But I've been to 2 meets just from Facebook groups, and they're all really good. Normally, as soon as you get there, the first night, everybody cooks and takes it outside and sits together and gets to know each other. And there's people that live full time, or they just do the weekends and things. And it is so nice because there is this one common thing that everybody loves to do. And then we all swap tips like this for how to feel safe in the van, because feeling safe and being safe are 2 different things, aren't they? So it's a great community to be part of. And there's events on all the time. So if ever you're stuck for something to do, there's always an event to go and find.
It's so lovely to inspire people and gives people the knowledge of, being actually living on the road and travelling and having, them amazing experiences which I've had over the last 3 years.
Actually, going back to how would you start out on your own, that's actually a really good way to do it as well. For your first trip out on your own, find some Facebook groups or some groups that are doing solo meets, and that would actually be a fantastic place to go for your first couple, because you'll be around like-minded people. So that's a good one, actually.
Yeah, just literally Facebook, just do female van life. And I think there's about 25 on there. There's loads of different areas and things, so you choose your locality, and they are really good, really good.
Yeah, brilliant. Any other questions? If not, I have one. I'm prepared. So I have another one. Shocking, with my cards that I made, because I'm professional. So this is why did you laugh?
Offended.
So is there anywhere, and obviously this will go to both of you, so is there anywhere that you've travelled to that has surprised you or has been totally different to what you expected, either good or bad, but have you had anywhere that you really wanted to go and then you've been like, oh, this isn't what I expected at all? Have you been anywhere? That was in unison. Yep.
I'll go. I think mine's Albania. Tash already knows what I'm going to say. A lot of people before I set off, it was that like, oh, you're going to Albania? And I'm like, why? Do you know anything about it? No. And I'm like, well, how can you pass comment like that? But anyway, off I went to Albania. And I must admit, absolutely loved it. The people were so nice, and the places, the mountains, it was just absolutely amazing. And I must admit, my second, I think, is Morocco. I did love Morocco. It's one of them countries that you can still buy veg on the side of the road, and there's donkeys, and it's just amazing. But yeah, my top one is Albania. What else did you ask? What else did you ask?
No, that was it. What about you, man? So anyway, you've been that's totally surprised you or been completely different to what you expected?
For me, it was Turkey, and it was for both good and bad. With Turkey, we thought the language barrier was going to be a big deal, and nobody's afraid of using Google Translate on the phone. We've had massive conversations with people where we've just used Google Translate in the conversation mode, and that's been absolutely brilliant. You go to the, come on Mandy, you can do it, west side of Turkey, and where you've got Bodrum and all the holiday places there. We went out of season, so most of the things were closed, but it was just absolutely beautiful, and everyone was really friendly and helpful, and it felt slightly familiar from holidays and things. We were there with friends, their van broke down, and we met this guy that we still follow on Facebook today because he was like, I'll sort it, gets a low loader out, gets them into Mercedes, and it was literally, at the end of the day, we sat there with olives and potatoes and things that he'd grown himself in his house, and you could, absolutely brilliant hospitality. But the further east we went, the more traditional Turkey, when we say the dress changed. It went from Western dress to more traditional dress, and then I started getting just a little bit more nervous because no one would talk to me. Everyone was talking over me and talking straight to John. So I think it was just a little bit of the thank you, honey. The culture changed as you went from one side to the other, and I think I'd just been lulled into this, everything's going to be easy on this side, and then it kind of got harder the more east you went. It was stunning, and it was beautiful, and it was well worth going, but it was a country of two halves for me.
That's really interesting. I'm going to throw my 2 cents in and answer my own question. No, it's fine. I just, like to talk. For me, I think mine was going to Morocco, actually, because I didn't drive out there. I flew out there to then meet a team to help drive some motorhomes back. But I flew out there on my own. It's the first time I'd ever flown that far on my own. And it was during the start of Ramadan as well. So I'd looked on the government advice website and it put the fear of God into me, all these sort of things. But actually, I flew out there on my own. It was perfectly lovely, so it was a good surprise. Everyone was really friendly. Everyone was really helpful. And I was like, yeah, a bit like you said with Albania. When you say you're flying out somewhere on your own or driving somewhere on your own and people say, oh, what are you going there for? And you're like, well, I'm going to do it. And until you do it, you don't know, do you? So it was a good surprise, thankfully. But yeah, that was crazy. Have you got any other questions? Oh,
Did you spend lockdown in Albania? Did I? Spend lockdown in Albania?
No, I spent lockdown in Spain.
Ah, okay. Sorry, I just thought you were in Albania.
Yeah. In a villa with a swimming pool. How bad am I? Sorry.
Hard life.
I was in a car
Welcome
park.
to van life.
I was in a car park, thank you.
So it's no secret that I love gadgets and tech and products. I've got way too much stuff in my motorhome.
Me too, Daz.
But what would you say your favourite and most important items in your van are to you guys?
Can I answer this one? Yeah. Thanks to John. I think I tell him every day my solar panel on my roof. It's the biggest. Is it 600 watt? And I only had the 200 watt for 2 years. I had no fridge. I spent 2 years travelling with no fridge, no running hot water, and now I was saying to John, max air fan or solar panel, max air fan or solar panel. He went, solar panel. So 3 of them, 4, put it on the roof. Yeah, amazing.
Brilliant. What's your favourite gadget or tech item?
Coffee maker. It's going to be my coffee maker. That's been in.
But what runs it?
My power bank. But I go and plug it into a McDonald's. I'd take my own coffee in and plug it into one of the... No, my coffee maker has been the thing I like best because it saves on power because I'm not boiling up a whole kettle just to make 1 cup of coffee.
Yep.
It just is my favourite thing in the whole world. As John will know, I love it more than I love him.
Brilliant. I thought you were going to say, what's your favourite gadget? John. That's what I thought you were going to say.
Oh, that's such a good answer. Can I start again?
But now I can power hair straighteners, I've got an electric kettle, I've got an air fryer, I've got an induction hob. When I'm travelling through Europe, I pretty much are 100% running on electric. I've only got gas as a standby for the UK. So yeah, air straighteners, air dryer, everything you name it, I've got it. And Victron as well.
Brilliant. So mine is going to be, obviously, once I got the solar panels and the lithium, that was great. But my favourite gadget is my mini Hoover, because crumbs drive me absolutely insane. So
You're obsessed with that mini Hoover. It's brilliant, isn't it?
I will get it out and show you all. I love my mini Hoover. It is brilliant. And it's perfect for the small size van as well. So, yeah.
Brilliant.
It's there. It's right in there. I will show you. I will get it out in a minute. I will show you all. So, yeah, that's my favourite gadget.
Thank you.
No, thank you for your question.
We've got a question at the back of the room here.
When we travel as a twosome, I'm normally the navigator, chief navigator, or we can take it in turns. When you're on your own, especially if you go to park up number one and it's get that gut feeling it's not right, how do you cope with navigating and travelling solo? And what happens when your sat nav lets you down?
Dun, dun, dun. So what happens when your sat-nav lets you down? What's your experience?
My backup, I've got a Garmin. Is it a Garmin? I've got one of them. I must admit, when you are on your own, you've got all the decisions to make, but sometimes that's not a bad thing. You know, I want to go there, so you go. But it is quite hard to make sure that you're on the right road and you're going the right way and you've got your location sorted, but you've got your apps for that, park for night and search for sites.
I always find that because I was chief navigator, so it's always these little things of when John was driving, I was going, oh look, there's a pub, and oh there's a shop, and that's kind of stuck in my head for as we're getting closer to park ups. So it's given me a little bit of awareness for what's around me. So if I couldn't find a way back out of it because my sat nav had failed, I'd literally go and follow those backwards and try and find out. Okay, so I know there was a White Hart pub there, and I'll go and kind of get myself back to somewhere where I can stop and try and look for something different. It also helps to find pubs. Not that I'm obsessed with pubs or coffee.
Do you like pubs and coffee?
I do. I like pubs and coffee. They're my favourite.
But yeah, I think for me, it always, I think, like you said, when you're as a twosome, you've got that extra backup if it goes wrong. But when my sat-nav's let me down or, signals died or something like that, I think an instinct just kicked in. So I'd just be like, okay, take a breath, take a minute, just carry on. And then the next pull-in you see, like be it a shop or a pub or something like that, I would just pull over, stop, and then get my bearings, see if I could get the sat-nav working again. But if not, like you said, maybe go back and try and retrace my steps to find a point that I recognise, and then I've just carried on from there. So it's just been kind of sort of following a bit of an instinct, carrying on if you think it's sort of the right direction, but then finding somewhere to pull in and regroup. That's what I've done when it's happened. So,
Good answer. I keep forgetting to do this.
Thank you. That's okay. I think we've still got time for more questions, haven't we? Yeah. Anyone? Oh. Who's going to get there first?
Ellis will beat me.
I just wanted to ask, it is a technical question. I like a bit of TV at night, and if you're using your mobile phone, to tether to your TV, I found that while we've been here, we've had no signal whatsoever. Would you recommend like a Wi-Fi booster, or would you consider getting a dongle or something?
I think we've all got external Wi-Fi in ours, haven't we?
Well, it's two different actually, because my van is completely different to the motorhome. So obviously my little van, I just find a little router is absolutely fine for me. Obviously when I've been tethering off my phone, it's been okay, but then there's not really a lot of extra room around the van for signal-wise. But on the motorhome, definitely, the bigger van, we've got a signal booster. But thankfully, I've never really come across that problem. But then what I do is I do download things like onto my iPad so that I've got a backup if there is no signal. So what about yourselves? Have you had that experience?
I've got a Netgear router and I've got a Smarty SIM and I'm with the E. So I've got two forms of internet. So fingers crossed I've been all right here. But yeah, I would think about getting maybe a couple of SIMs or two, some work really well in areas, and so you're never without internet.
Yeah, it's a good shout, actually. Sometimes it's not just the actual signal booster, sometimes it's the signal in general, isn't it? So that's a good answer, actually.
And I like me Netflix and me, so when I've got no signal, I'm like, whoa.
Here's the difficult thing, isn't it? Because I think, like saying, you don't appreciate having signal until you've not got it. And because I work regularly and I've got to stay connected, it's if I drop the connection, then everything drops in my van. Some guy set up this internet in my van for me that was really, really useful.
Some guy.
Just randomly. But the difference from my phone, the signal I get, if I do a speed test, it can almost be like 3 times, 4 times as fast using the router in the van with the aerial on the roof. It really is, it makes a massive difference for that. If we're out and about at festivals and everyone's trying to hammer the signal, I'll just go stand by my van so it connects to it again, because it just boosts it incredibly. So if you are relying on it, it's definitely a good call to have, with many SIMs.
With many SIMs.
Many SIMs.
We've got a question here about park-ups.
So sometimes we've struggled to get park-ups and we've had to park in some really unusual places, like churchyards, with honesty box, schoolyards, and even multi-storey car parks on some occasions. Where's the most unusual place you've parked up?
Oh, I love that question. Where's the most unusual place you've parked up? Oh. Hold on a moment.
She just handed that off to me then. She's like, you can do this one. And I'm like, most unusual place. Most unusual place. I'm not looking at John because I'll ask him to answer all my questions for me. The most unusual place, I think probably was in Cornwall, and I just snuck into the side of a farmer's field. The farmer had given me the okay, but I'd gone everywhere. And you know what it's like in Cornwall, it's either really, really good or really, really bad. And I, again, was trying to find a signal. So it's one of those things, it's great if you were, it's like, stop, don't even get out of the van, go onto speed test, see what the signal's like, right, this isn't going to do, keep working around. And then a lot of them had signs on there. And I was pulled into a lay-by just to check for park-ups. And this farmer in his tractor comes up at the side of me and he goes, you're looking for somewhere to park? And I'm like, oh, he's going to tell me off for parking in his lay-by. And he goes, if you just reverse back there, you can stay there. I'm not going in the field for the rest of the day. And I'm like, okay. So I had these beautiful views of wheat fields and things and this lovely hedge at the back of me. And it was the most unexpected place ever. I couldn't get out of the van, though, because it's like a quagmire, but yeah.
I love that. To be honest, I don't know if it's cheating because it wasn't like a backup park-up, but I think the couple of unusual places that come to mind was a llama farm. That was good. That was brilliant. Yes. And an antiques dealer as well, like this really cool antiques place that was in an old mill. And then you were allowed to like park up in there, and they had like little huts all around the edge of the car park that were selling like food and other little quirky items. And it was random as you like, right by the canal, but it was absolutely fantastic. So yeah, they're my 2 random ones, but the llama farm is probably up there with one of the top ones. That was fun. That was cute.
And what about you?
You thought of one?
I'm having to think about that. I mean, I've parked in that many places that, I'm trying to think of the most unusual. Outside a dentist, parked there.
Were you going to the dentist?
No. It just had a parking place, so I stealth parked there. Farmers, obviously courteously. It's not, do you know what I mean? I never park anywhere that I think that I'm going to affect anybody, or you always are conscious of where you park. I think outside the dentist was the main one. Yeah.
See, Park for Night's great, isn't it? When you use the little tractor. So if you're using Park for Night, I don't know if anyone knows, there's a filter option on it, and you can use the tractor, and that will give you all kind of farms and unusual places that you can go to stop at. And I think we found one on a hazelnut farm, and we thought that was really good. But it's like, oh no, we've got to buy things, so we had to go and buy praline and hazelnut coffee and all those things. But that's a really good way for finding unusual places, isn't it? For that.
Google Earth as well. Google Earth them. When you find a park up and you want to go there, go onto Google Earth and zoom in. And then you can pretty much find, you can see the area pretty well detailed. And, I find that I always look on Google Earth.
When you said about the dentist, we parked in the car park and it was empty over its glass wall.
Yeah.
And then there was no one there. Woke up in the morning, it was a GP practice and was surrounded by all things.
Yeah, at least you blended in. As long as you don't start throwing your table and chairs out, you're fine.
Brilliant. So I think, have we got any more questions, or is that it?
Have we got any more questions from the floor? Yeah, we've got one more. I think we've got time for one more.
Ooh, the last one.
Better be a good one.
Make it a good one.
Yeah.
Grand finale.
Oh, it's Mevy.
With your talk being inspiring for people, some people might also be inspired to share their experiences online. Do you have any do's and don'ts of what people should do, maybe if they're vlogging their experiences for the first time?
Yeah, I can answer one of them. If you're online, I'm mostly Instagram, and I always post like 3 days after I've been to the place, just out of security, and then further down the line I'll, post again.
Sorry, we're just trying to get the Instagram thing. It was like, she said Instagram, and normally it's, there we go.
I was trying to make a really smooth segue then and be like, here we go. And then the clicker let me down. So yeah, sorry, what would you say?
So mine is just leave a delay. Always have a delay between what you record and what you post. It's really, really difficult because I forget all the time. So as soon as I'm like, oh, this is brilliant, I'll post these pictures tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes, I'm like, oh, this is brilliant, and forget to post anything. So that's maybe my trick, is to forget and not post anything about where you are. And then you don't have to worry about it. It doesn't help the socials at all.
I've done that this weekend.
But no, I think the only time I've ever done that was when I was saying about meeting that woman in Cornwall. That was the first time I'd ever told someone where I was at that time, and I was so nervous because I'm like, she looks like a woman on the internet, but I don't know who I've just invited to my van for a coffee. Thankfully that worked out okay, but yeah, leaving a bit of a gap, but then all the info in what you need.
Yeah, I would agree. I would just leave a delay. I don't tend to post live where I am, and then share it the next day, or do what you do and forget, and then have a week's worth of stuff to share. Yeah.
You see, we do it ourselves, not on purpose.
Super safe. I think, is that it?
But if you're going to do it, do it.
Is anybody feeling inspired to do it? Some hands? Have they inspired you? There's several of us that are.
That's good.
That's good. That's good.
That's good.
I just want to say a massive thank you to you all for sharing that. Great insights. Some really helpful tips as well. I love the bungee strap. That's my favourite. In fact, we were recently in Ullapool about to get the ferry to the Outer Hebrides, and it was blowing a hoolie. I mean, to the point I thought the van was going over. The day before, a motorhome was blown down a cliff not far from where we were, and we parked the van with the seats facing forward, no outside blinds, and Tash gave me all these ideas. And as I was getting the van ready to move in the middle of the night, because I thought, well, I might have to move this, I thought Tash would be proud of me, because I get in the van in a state. Even the ignition key was in the ignition, and the steering lock wasn't on. So it's practical tips like that make a difference, don't they? And give us the confidence, whether you're male or female, to do this brilliant pastime on our own, because we can.
Because we can.
So, yeah, and you guys do. So thank you so much for coming along. If you want to stick around and get some more inspiration, Tash is on stage again. We're really rinsing her this weekend. She's on stage with Beth, and she is telling more stories about solo female travel in a van. So stick around. We'll be on stage together in about 6 minutes. So we'll see you then. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.